All right. Good morning, most, and yeah, welcome all. Let's see, we're starting off with status updates. As I am speaking, I'll go ahead and give mine. In regards to the learning sub-team, the only thing that I've really done is on the Buildpacks IO site, added Google Analytics and a dashboard along with that. So I added a discussion or a topic to the agenda that we could talk about, like what kind of metrics or data we want to capture or have a visual of. Um, yeah, and then I also added a link to DevStats, which if you're not aware, DevStats gives you like it's part of the CNCF. Any project that's on there has a lot of analytics revolving the project. So a lot of it has to do with code contributions, but it goes pretty in depth into a lot of just information. So if you want to take a look at that, we could also gather some metrics from that as well. Okay, I think that's it for me. Anybody else? Status update?
I think I have anything.
All right, then moving on, we do have user research as a stand-in item. Any
I can
update
speak
there?
to it a little bit. I just from, I'm not the point man on this, but I do have insight. I know that nothing's really moved on that front yet. So I'll keep you posted.
Cool, awesome. All right, the next thing is unlabeled issues. Do we have any? Yes, we have one. Share my screen real quick. We have the update project Talmo format to reverse domains. I believe this is off of an RFC from Terrence. And I believe this should be, I mean, this could be as simple as the learning team taking this one on. All right, I think that's it for that. We could move on to analytics. Yeah, I think I spoke to this during the status update, but we do have this dashboard now, which the maintainers could update in regards to what information is presented through the dashboard. So some of the basic things like sessions, total users, new users, where they're coming from, country. A lot of this is kind of more or less taken from the Cato dashboard. So that's kind of like our starting base. But I wanted to open up the discussion to see whether or not we could brainstorm any, I guess maybe any particulars that we care about in this particular project or context.
How do you get to this website? I mean, is there a link from?
Yes, we did add it to the very bottom of our Buildpacks IO site.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that at least just came up to my mind this morning was bounce rate, right? I think it'd be nice to know, based on the feedback from the landing page that we'll talk about a little bit later, like it'd be nice to know that when people jump in and then instead of clicking around, just immediately jump out, right? Like that would be the bounce rate. It'd be nice to know maybe per page, like how they bounce or which one has a higher bounce rate. And maybe from there, we could kind of create a goal of trying to lower that bounce rate at some point.
We also have similar statistics for the um, Kata Coda tutorials. So like how many hours of engagement they've had, how many people tried to complete the tutorial, and other things.
Do you know whether that data is exportable or ingestible via the dashboard?
It is exportable using a CSV, I believe. So you can export it as a CSV. And I think all of us on this call should be able to view it. Let me check.
That'd be very interesting. Yeah, so like one of the things the dashboard lets us do is like create pages, right? So we could have a page just for Katacoda that you could come in here and like see that. That'd be cool. We might have to create a pipeline for ingesting if there's no direct way of doing it. Okay, yeah, so like we have page views and user engagement, which right now isn't even fully set up, but this would have to do with what sort of things they click on. I think search would be a good one, right? So like we just added the search functionality to our docs. So what keywords they search on. And one of the things I didn't see on here is for the quote unquote organic referrals where they're coming from like search engines, what the keywords were that were used. Anthony and Natalie, do you know of anything that might have come from the user research that would be nice to track as far as interactions with the docs or the website?
I think that what you've named so far sounds about right. I mean, we're talking about the tutorial that Sam created, but also the tutorial that we have. Like, I don't know. It would be nice to see if people complete that or at what point they abandon it. So I think that's captured in what you have.
Okay, so are we talking about like maybe I'm pretty sure this is called a funnel, right? But in our particular case, the funnel would be the completion of the guide, right? So like they hit the end of the guide for let's say build pack creation. So we have that for Katacoda, right? So you're saying that we should probably have that for our own guides.
For as long as I'd love for those guides to go away eventually, but as long as we have them.
I think one other thing that would be interesting would be like if we could tag the pages with personas. So like if this page is related to a Buildpack author or operator, and then aggregate how many people view app developer related pages, how many people view Buildpack author related pages, etc.
That sounds good, yeah.
It could also be other tags, but like personas are like one tags I can think of for each page.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we have sections. Right, so like we have a section per persona, which is one thing, but then we have other things like tools, references, and so maybe those could also be other like pivots. Cool. Anything else?
Should we also be tracking like the number of views and stuff of our popular like video tutorials? So we added a bunch of them to the website. Would that make sense? Like how many?
Yep, I would agree. Video.
Although I don't know if we can see like the YouTube stats for things uploaded to the CNCF channel versus.
I think that hopefully that data is public, but yeah, I don't know how easy it would be, consumable, like ingestible. But I think the fact that you're able to at least view the view count publicly means that that data should be public, but worth investigating. The other thing I thought about just now as I'm browsing the website is registry, right? Although it's relatively new, we probably want to add analytics to the registry and also the keywords that are being searched there.
Do we have analytics around pack pull? So like if you pull a bill back from a registry, does the registry API server track it somehow?
No, it doesn't. I think that was part of some of the discussion during the RFC process, is because of the way it's implemented, it becomes very difficult. It's more or less based on, what is it called? Like the OCI registry, the image registry, that's the thing that tracks it. I don't recall if there were some like, tangible proposals that might come up in the future. But as of right now, there is not.
So like before hitting the the Docker registry, it still has to resolve the Buildpack registry ID to the OCI image tag, right? So would that, could we track that part, if not the exact pull?
So I think the problem with the current implementation, if I remember correctly, is that for at least pack, right? If you're talking about pack in particular,
Mm-hmm.
we're pulling the entire registry, right? Like we're
Ah,
cloning the entire registry index and then doing a lookup on the file system, right? So then theoretically, right, a solution could be that we could send that lookup to a central server somewhere somehow, right? I think there's been a pretty good opposition in the past for pack sending any sort of analytics. Not saying it's off the table, but that's at least a blocker or
Gotcha.
something to discuss. I know because there is now, or yeah, I don't know the extent of it right now, but there's a registry API,
Mhm.
right? I think the idea was at some point to maybe have pack switch over to using the registry API. At which point, I think that's where your suggestion would come in, right? Where any calls to that registry API would essentially add a count to the thing that's being downloaded. Does that all make sense?
Yeah. So does this analytics dashboard also ingest data from that other link that's there, like around like, developer contributions, or is that a separate Grafana thing?
It's definitely separate right now. I'm sure that it could be, plugged in. I'm not sure what the value of that would be, given that there's already a pretty good way of visualizing all the different data points, and there's like different dashboards already created within
Mhm.
DevStats. But if there's some proposals, I think it'd be easy enough to do if we wanted to. Cool. So it looks like we got a decent list here. We don't have too much time, so we could kind of move on, and maybe if we have some more ideas, we could talk about them towards the end. The next thing we have is the Buildpacks IO landing page feedback on Twitter. I believe this was shared in our Slack somewhere. And it was this particular comment here, which I think resonates a little bit with a lot of the community or team members. In that I wouldn't even say the landing page per se, right? But it's definitely one of the key points here is that when you go to the Buildpacks.io website, it's really hard to comprehend at a glance exactly what it is that Buildpacks or the project itself is. And this is probably repetitive to some, but the way I like to visualize it is that we have multiple tiers of what the project is providing. And I think that adds to the complexity of trying to explain exactly what it is that the project is about. So like we have the spec at the core, right? And this makes it interoperable and multiple, there could be multiple implementations and, it creates an ecosystem. It enables an ecosystem. Then we have like the life cycle, the engine, right? Like this is a thing that people could use, and along with like the build packs, right, that are shareable. But like the project itself doesn't actually produce any build packs. So like there comes like the first kind of confusion, right? The build packs project doesn't have build packs. Then it also provides like some user-facing tools like pack, right? So like that's the like very easily tangible thing for an app developer. It's like pack, right? But it's only like one part of it, right? So if we sold just pack, right? Or if we sold just the Tecton integration or any other component, right? Like it would be doing a disservice because we want to like create an ecosystem. So I think because of that, that's kind of what's led to this kind of confusion here, where people come in and they're like, okay, it's like way too obscure, right? Like in trying to sell everything, we basically sell nothing, is the way I would phrase that.
I think for me as well, when I first got introduced to Buildpacks, like listening to those videos that that Terrence or Emily or Joe have presented, that made me understand what Buildpacks were more so than the landing page or the features page. Because as someone new, you may not even be aware of some of the terms, and even in the features page it shows comparisons against things which again you may not be aware of. So like if people don't know what like advanced caching or whatever is, they will obviously not, they may also not have heard of S2I, but that's like the second thing next to build packs, where you're comparing one thing that people don't know about with another thing that they don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
So that like in as I've been trying to like teach or try to get people internally to use buildbacks, it's been even like it's definitely difficult to point them to the website to say what it means, because even if they, for example, go here, none of the things there are like things people may have heard of, like Jib, Go, S2I, CNB. They're all things that people may not be aware of. Something that they definitely have heard of is Docker files. If they're looking into something like Buildpacks, and I think we're missing that. I don't know if it's intentionally omitted from there, but like when I first looked at this, I didn't know what any of these things were.
Well, that's really good feedback. If I'm not mistaken, I believe for some reason Joe's name comes to my mind, but I believe he was wanting to do a kind of like maybe either a guide, blog post, or something that translates like it would walk you through the process of like, this is how you take a Docker file and create a, project Toml or build the application in Buildpacks essentially, right? So I'm not sure exactly where that is, but I don't know that it also speaks directly to what a comparison would look like. But I think it has the potential to as well, right? So I think based on that, what I hear is we probably want to compare with Docker files, and we want to maybe see where we might be with that Docker file translation blog post or guide.
If you take a look at the link that I shared, I feel like the Jib, intro to Jib, what is Jib page has a good visual illustration that might, simplify communication. If you look at our landing page, the only visual illustration that we have is showing the evolution of the project between Pivotal and Heroku, which I feel is not the best use of that real estate, probably.
Agreed.
I think
Adding some
another
notes
thing
here.
is that like the main part of what CNB does is part of that banner which says cloud native build packs, transform your application source code into images that can run on any cloud. And then after that, the next thing is that list of features, which again is very cryptic to people who don't know what it is. And then the next thing is this about the project stuff. So all of these links point to getting started, and then once you click on that, it's 50 more links on like which paths you could take instead of concisely explaining what it actually does.
I have a feeling that the next item on the list may help us with explaining better. I mean, and helping this guy and other people.
Yeah, totally agree. I was gonna say the intro video, like I think the purpose of the intro video is to speak, directly to this individual, right? Or these individuals.
Exactly.
We just have to do a really good job of it within a minute, right? So that's gonna be very interesting.
I guess whatever we create for the video, like whatever script we create, we can summarize or paraphrase some of that for the landing page as well. Because like not all people would be willing to watch a video on the landing page.
Right.
So like we would have to create a script anyway for it. So we can also just put it somewhere in writing.
Yeah, so I think for me, like in my mind, I was already thinking about the possibility of making the landing page essentially a lot longer, right? And more sections there within the landing page. And the reason for that was honestly more or less just because of real estate. So I was hoping to bring in the features, right, into the landing page. And based on some of the feedback, the way that we do so may change, right? And even more so would change even hopefully for the better if we base it off of the video, right? Like the outcomes of the video, how we structure the video, what we really want to present or put in front of the user in that very first glance would be the things that we would want to put in the main page, the landing page. And then one of the things I remember when we first did the features was I think right now they're definitely obscure, right, and very high level. And I think what we wanted to ultimately do is maybe link them to like where people could read more about a very specific feature, right? So if you look at our features and we talk about like bill of materials, right? Like we should be able to click on it, link to like what does bill of materials mean, maybe what's its value and how, you know, how is it implemented, right? Or where can I see more? And a lot of the other features here, like rebasing, right? Like we have a page for rebasing, so linking to that should be relatively easy.
I think for each of these features, like having a concrete example would also help. Like this is why they're useful and this is how they're used. So like you can link to a bill of materials and maybe some of the projects that we like for example in the tooling section we link to things like kpack or gitlab or other things. We could do something similar for like maybe we can link to one of the Paquito outputs saying that like this is how the bill of materials for like a Java build pack would look like, where you can see the JDK version and the jars that have been installed or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm a little bit hesitant to link to Paquito specifically. I think we're trying to be, you know, as agnostic as possible in regards to build pack providers or vendors. So that would be the only like real reservation there. I think either we'd want to create our own.
Samples.
Yeah, exactly. Or use the samples.
I totally agree with Nali that about the project should move to a different section. It should be like under history or something like this. It should definitely not be in the like landing page. I think so.
Yeah, I think that was good at some point in time, right? Where people were migrating from V2 to V3, but at this point, yeah.
We're over time, I think,
Oh no.
but I don't know. Juan, hi, we have a new participant in this meeting. Do you want to say anything or?
Hello, guys. Yes. Yeah, I'm new in VMware, and I was assigned to Buildpack team last week. I was talking with Clenio. So I just found this meeting in the website. I was reading a little bit about Buildpack, and somehow I saw the meeting link, and I said, okay, let's join because it seems that it had started 15 minutes ago. So I was just listening. I suppose I was going to meet you at some point with the manager or something. So maybe I just, you know, do it without any notice. But yeah, great. I believe I will. I've been playing around with the project by myself, checking the GitHub repo, reading about it, what it's doing and what it's not. So yeah, so far it's very cool for me to join you know, open source project. Will be my first time contributing to that one. And yeah, I hope I can help and learn. I'm excited about it.
Welcome.
Awesome, welcome.
you.
Yeah, we might pick your brain about some of these questions. How you're learning about everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Elle, do you want to give a quick shout out for the workshop?
Yeah, today, 2:30 Eastern, we have the workshop. We're going to talk about the intro video, to have some brainstorming, hopefully to have some good ideas on how to make this video short and clear. Would love to see you all.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you all. I'll add the review roadmap back onto the future topics, and we could discuss those next time. Thank you all for being here.
Great. Bye, guys.